And he says, watch out. He says, the world's going to change. Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard. And I didn't even know what gold was because we weren't allowed to own gold. In 1933, I believe it was illegal for Americans to own gold. So I didn't know what gold was. So my co-pilot and I fly behind enemy lines because the North Vietnamese army had run south and the gold mine was in its way. So we're flying behind enemy lines, and that's when I started negotiating. Gold was at $35 an ounce in 1971. And by the time I got to the gold dealer at this gold mine, it was a little Vietnamese woman with red teeth. And I tried to buy gold from her at a discount. So I thought, well, it's $35 an ounce. It's $50 an ounce today because it was starting to rise. And she wouldn't move. She says, no, it's spot. Spot. I didn't know what spot meant. And here we are, my co-pilot and I were college graduates. And this little Vietnamese woman, I don't think she went to college, but she knew more about money than he and I did. But that was my introduction to gold. And I didn't buy any gold that day, but I let our aircraft us. And then they printed and interest rates keep going down. So in 1974, when I got out of the Marine Corps, if I had $1 million, which I didn't, I could put $1 million in 74 into a savings and loan, a bank, in a certificate of deposit, and they would pay me 15% on my $1 million. So a lot of people have made a lot of money. They just put their money into the bank and they're being paid 15% interest. So $1 million back in 74 was worth approximately $150,000. Now it's not a lot of money to retire on, but you could have retired on $150,000 in 1974. Today, I take $1 million into the bank, I might get 2%. So that means it went from $150,000 to $20,000. And after taxes, that $20,000 might be worth $15,000. In other words, since 1974, the US dollar has lost 90% of its value, and people still say to their kids, save money. You've got to be crazy. They're going to, now that the elections are over and all this, I don't care if it's Trump or Biden, they're going to have to print. And the Bitcoin I bought, thank God I was buying it at 9,000. And today it's worth over $1 million. But the reason for that has nothing to do with gold, silver, or Bitcoin. It has to do with the incompetence of the Federal Reserve Bank, or the corruption of the Federal Reserve Bank, the US Treasury, and Wall Street. So I'm not saying Bitcoin, and people get into what I call pissing matches. Which is better, gold or Bitcoin? Who cares? The question is, how much do you have? That's all that counts right now. Because the reason you buy gold, silver, or Bitcoin is for the same reason. If you trust the US government or the central banks, the Fed, and Wall Street, then save money. But if you don't, then buy gold, silver, and Bitcoin. And the thing I like about Bitcoin is that I can run with it. It's just a number in my head. My trouble with my gold and silver, I got so much of it, I have to lug it. It's hard to get it around. So when I started looking into Bitcoin, it was already starting to come up. So I started buying it. The more expensive Bitcoin gets, they print less of it. It's called a halving. So the price goes up, but the quantity comes down. And check the dollar out. The value of the dollar comes down, but they print more of it. Why would you save it? But it's the same with gold and silver. And the reason I endorse silver is because everybody can afford it. Today, it costs you about $30 for a US silver eagle. I'm not saying it's going to make you rich, but if you have 20 million of them, you'll be rich. If you just kept saving silver the way I kept saving gold, and now I'm saving Bitcoin, you don't have to go to college to save it. Just buy it, hide it. Buy it and hide it. You keep it out of the sight of the US government or your government. The people that bought gold, silver, or Bitcoin, let's say live in Argentina, you're so much richer today than a person who saved pesos. And it's the same as my friend in Australia. If you're saving the Aussie dollar, you're going to be crazy, or the Singapore dollar, or the Canadian dollar. So how many ounces, what percent, should you have 5%, 10%? To hell with the percent. I'm glad I bit the bullet at 9,000. It was hard because, gold was only about 1,800. So to buy Bitcoin was hard. But I'm glad I have it today. I'm still planning on buying more because I think, Bitcoin is probably going to go to $50,000. Gold's going to go to $15,000 and silver will probably go to $200. And you're going to buy it then? I have a very, very good friend. He's a pilot in the Marine Corps with me. And he was on the first round financing of Bitcoin. He has thousands of them. He was paying like 30 cents a coin. And today he's a mega millionaire just owning Bitcoin. He also owns the first round shares of Facebook. So anyway, what we're talking about here is this. You look at this here, the I is that the ultimate goal of a capitalist, keep buying it, hold on to it, keep buying, hold on. Don't keep it inside a bank. But the ride in gold, silver, and Bitcoin is about to run. The reasons you buy them are the same. It makes no difference. The reason you buy gold, silver, Bitcoin, because I don't trust our government.